What is a real life moment that changed? Was there ever a real life moment that changed the way you coach people or see the way you see people?
So, one real life experience that I had that changed the way I coach people, it was actually before becoming a life coach. I was going through, I was about like the last year of college. So, my life was about going to work, working as a waitress, then going to the university. So there was a real life moment that kind of impacted me a lot. I wasn't a life coach yet, but it definitely like changed the way I see people. So I was in the last year of college. So my life was about going to college, going to work, and then Sundays going to church. And then I was taken by this feeling of, I was like hearing these voices, not human voices, but like a feeling, I don't know, like a suggestion, I was living by the water, get your car and just end your life. Like I had this urge, that urge, to end my life. And that lasts like for 3 days. But at that point, I was like, what's going on? And then I already knew there's like, I usually say the mind lies to us all the time. So I knew it, that I was able to figure it out at that moment, that my mind was lying to me, because I start like questioning myself, like, but there's nothing wrong about my life. My marriage is okay. I have a healthy life. I'm doing what I love. I'm studying what I love. I'm chasing my dreams. I have a job to work. Like, why is this voice, this urge coming to me, out of nowhere? And then, so that lasted like for 3 days. And then after 3 days, and I was resisting, and I was like, no, this voice does not belong to me. It does not belong to my heart. I was just like separating myself from my thoughts.
Mhm.
And this is like a key for many people. Like when you're having uh, like strange thoughts, like a good thing that we practice in coaching is like asking yourself good questions. And then that built up to my empathy. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, like I'm having this urge and I'm having these feelings and hearing these voices. And I'm okay, like I have a house. And then I started thinking about how about people who have these same feelings, and uh, and they're going through like a hurt, they're going through a difficult situation. Like imagine how difficult that could be.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking like, who are, because I was living like far, like in a city that's like far away from the Brazilian community, like the people that I hang out with. And then I started like scanning in my brain, like who are the closest people that I can reach out and having like some social time, because that's what I was liking. I was liking social time because it was about like studying. And then as I approached this friend, and I was like hearing her stories and the things that she was going through, that feeling went away. So, and that there's a study that shows that when you're in depression or when you're having like feeling down about yourself, like doing volunteering or lending a hand to somebody else, that gives like a purpose, a meaning for your life. And it builds like connection, compassion, empathy. And that voice went away. And then I was like getting the answer to myself, like, I want you to, and I was asking God, like, God, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling this way? There needs to be a purpose for this. And then God said, I could understand, like, you're going to be working with people and they might be going through that same things. And when you hear these stories, because you felt it, you lived it yourself, you're not going to judge them. You're going to have compassion for them. because
Wow.
sometimes their thoughts, it's not because they're weak or because they don't believe in God. It can, depression, there's a lot of ways to look at it. It could be a hormonal imbalance. There's so many factors to it. The dieting, lack of exercise, lack of connection, lack of purpose, so many ways. But we tend to judge people like the things that we haven't lived. It's so hard. It's easier for you to judge when you haven't gone through
Yeah,
that same situation. So in this profession, the beautiful thing about this profession is just like a wine. The more you age, the more you go through the more I go through my own difficulties and challenges and overcome them, the better I become at building compassion and connecting with people.
that's beautiful. I like that. I like your answer. Is there a number one advice that? What is the number one advice that you give most people? Like the one thing that you always telling your clients.
Okay, if there's one thing that I can tell my everyone is like, be kind to yourself.
It,
Sometimes you might be listening to me and think like, oh, but I'm kind to myself. But like, I want you, if you think that way, good for you. But I want you to self observe and see if you are really being kind to yourself. Because when you go through that inner journey, because like going through therapy or life coaching is like going through an inner journey. You think you want to conquer bigger things there, but like first you have to conquer your own heart, in your own mind, in your own behavior, in your own thoughts. So you grow. It's just like a tree again. You build the roots first before you give fruits. So if you really observe yourself, start observing yourself. Like what you say to yourself when you break a glass, what you say to yourself when you forget to charge your phone, what you say to yourself when you forget to pick up your child in school. What do you tell yourself when you have a bad night of sleep or when you're having a bad hair?
yeah.
Once you start listening to that voice, like, oh, how stupid I am, how forgetful I am, I'm getting old, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. It's like most of us, there's a big critic inside of us, like always like putting ourselves down.
I think that our worst enemies is ourselves.
It's
It's not the neighbor, it's not so and so, it's us, you know?
yes,
And it's
yes.
funny when you said the thing about breaking a glass.
Hmm.
I break glass all the time.
Oh,
Every the time I'm like, why, God? Why am I like this? Why? I'm dropping things all the time. Why? You know?
and then there's something else that Jung says, that body and mind must be together. Because when accidents happen, you can look closely. Think about the last accident you had, like a car accident, or when you broke a glass, or when something happened. You're probably like doing something automatically, and then your mind is like somewhere else.
Yep.
If you follow this, if you start becoming your own best friend. So the opposite of being critic is being your own cheerleader, being your own best friend. I broke a glass. Oh, Chris, are you okay? Are you okay? What would you tell a friend? Are you okay? This is just a glass. Let's put it together. Where was my mind at the point? Yeah, at that point. You know, can I just practice more mindfulness? What I'm smelling, what I'm listening, you know, uh, what am I doing? Put your mind where your body is. You're gonna avoid a lot of accidents or a lot of uh, things getting forgotten.
Yeah.
Um, and then build that lovely, like feeding that inner friend of yours and cheerleader. Listen, you made a mistake right now, but just breathe. You know, how can you fix this? And move on instead of like ruminating, being so harsh on yourself, like all day, all week, a whole month.
Yeah.
So being kind to yourself.
Now a question about you.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not coaching, what do you
Mm-hmm.
do to take care of you? What does Christiane do to take care of Christiane?
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that question because again, I gotta walk the talk. That's something I tell my clients. You gotta do something for yourself. Uh, well, I just turned 40. I have lots of rituals, but I'll just share three with you at this point. So first of all, sleep for me is very important. Like if I don't sleep well, my brain doesn't work well. Like so taking care of my sleep routine, going to bed at the same time. I go to bed like very early lately, like around 9 o'clock. I'm in bed. Make sure that I have a good night of sleep. So that's the number one. Otherwise, like you
And
don't
then
want to be
do
near
you
me.
do that on the weekends too? Because I always go to bed early, but on the
Mhm.
weekends I would allow myself to stay up. I don't do
Mhm.
that anymore. Even on the weekends, I still go to bed unless there's something going on, but I try.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Like this weekend, I was at my friend's house, like hanging out, and like we're all 40s now, and you're like 8:30, like 9 o'clock. Everybody's like, oh, dimming down. I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to drive home. I gotta be safe. I wanna like I make a curfew for myself whenever I'm out. And it's like 9 o'clock. I'm already like sleepy. I'm like, I gotta get home like before midnight. Like I put myself
Uh-huh.
like some limit because I want to make sure that I'm driving, okay until I get home and things like that, and I get enough time of sleep. So sleeping is something that I take good care of myself. I'm lately drinking not mushroom coffee, but the mushroom chai tea. I don't know if I've heard like there's like a lot of talk about it, like the
I heard
mushroom.
about the mushroom coffee. I heard
Mhm.
about that one. I think my sister's boyfriend does that, and yeah, always raving about it, but I never tried. So you feel a
Yeah.
difference from regular coffee?
Yeah, I'm not a coffee drinker because again, uh our society we're so disconnected. Like this is something to bring awareness that we drink melatonin to fall asleep and coffee to wake up.
Yep, yep, yep.
So that's connected with my other part. Like I get a good night of sleep and I don't need coffee. But because all my friends are drinking this mushroom coffee and they say it's good for your digestion, for your intestine, it's good for so many things. And I love chai tea. Like chai tea for me is a good replacement of coffee because it helps my mood. And I've been hearing about the good effects of mushrooms, vitality, focus, you know, mood, and so many things that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try the chai tea mushroom drink. So that's what I've been drinking, and this is it's make me feel good
That's good.
lately. And then a hobby that I developed that it's a good self care. It's taking care of plants. Oh my goodness, I officially consider myself like mother of plants. I do have a 6-year-old boy, but like since last summer, I always had like this good connection with nature. And that's what I usually do. Like I like to go out in nature when I have brain fog, when I'm drained mentally, when like nature makes me feel so good. And because we live in New England, there is not a lot of opportunities to go out during, the cold weather. So I'm bringing nature to home.
I
So I
have
have
some
like,
plants here, but they're alive thanks to my husband, my mom, and my stepson because I forget every time my mom comes back on my stepson, did you put water? And I'm like, I forgot. And they get so mad.
and it's been like my ritual. I wake up, I check on them, I check the soil, and now I learn how to take better care of the orchids because people lose patience with orchids. They usually overwater it or it doesn't have flowers. So that's become like my hobby. And like now there we are in spring here in New England. Like I'm only thinking about flowers. As soon as I finish here, I'm gonna water my plants.
Thanks. I'm gonna try and remember after we finish here to go water my plants too.
So that's a good self-care because I know it improves my mood and it makes me feel so happy.
With you being from Brazil, is your
Mhm.
clientele just from Brazil, or try to reach out other nationalities too?
Yes, that's a really good question. So that's something that I also learned that we tend to attract. It's like the law of attraction too, and connection. I would say 85% of my clients are Brazilians
Mm-hmm.
and women, like I mentioned before. Um, I do have American clients. They're usually like the minority, but I'm not because I intend to. It's just that type of connection. Like people connect with the Brazilians connect with me, and because there are different generations of uh, Brazilians living in the United States. So now I'm like having the second generation of Brazilians. So the children of Brazilians who were born in America. And I love working with that because that certainly impacts their identity, their cultural view. And like there's this generational gap that usually there is in every generation, and there's this cultural gap and in how to take the best of both worlds. But I have clients like from Latin America. I had Italian clients as well. I'm not limited to, as long as they speak the language, I'm okay. And I also had clients that we did all the sessions in Spanish. I do have all the material in Spanish.
Do you
My Spanish is not the sharpest at this point, but like we do it really well.
do you like when you are having a session with an American person? Let's talk
Mhm.
about cultures. We're from Brazil.
Sure, I love it.
Very, excuse me, like a warm, we're touchy-feely, right? We're always hugging. We have that's sort of like a when you start speaking with a Brazilian person that you never met, it's like two old friends catching up, right?
Yes, yes.
Now with the American culture, they're more reserved, right?
Hmm, hmm,
So when you're having a session with an American person, with you being Brazilian, is
hmm.
there a moment during the session that you need to like turn off your Brazilian side, turn on your American way? You know, I mean, is there something like that that you have to be aware when you're dealing with all the nationalities at your work?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very different. Like, I mean, it goes on kind of natural, but I have pinpointed like things that are different. So, for example, my sessions usually last 60 minutes. With Americans, like 57 minutes, they want to be done. Whatever question I ask, they're very concise and direct to answering the questions. With Brazilians, like even my mind goes like,
Just keep on talking and talking and
I
talking.
can like you ask one question, I can say about like 10 different topics. Or it's we are free to we are more, let's say, uh fluid, we more informal,
Yeah.
so it's easier. Like, and my brain works like this. I it's like, like so many things, so many lamps like lights up. With Americans, I have to be more concise and direct, and when I ask a question, I get like a short answer. uh but my Brazilian side, like my nurturing, caring side, compassionate, worldwide review, is something that my clients like. The way I conduct and being gentle and being sympathetic and culturally, understanding. So that's something that my clients appreciate. Uh, and then with Brazilians, when I do a 60 sessions with Brazilians, we usually extend like another 5, 10,
I
15
remember
minutes.
this. We're always passing the 1 hour.
And it's just like the more is the better for
Yep.
Brazilians. And Americans like, I got something else to do. So we gotta finish early this time, okay? if we go beyond the time. So and again, I think these are the main differences.
What's the one Brazilian tradition or value that you always carry with you no matter where you are?
I think the compassion, the warmth. I
Mhm.
think I'm known for that. Like not even in my professional life, but in my regular life. Like I'm very good at connecting heart to heart, no matter what culture. And sometimes that kind of scares people because they feel like way too comfortable with me, and sometimes they're like, oh, I gotta open up my guard, and it's something that my person, I think it's part of my personality, and it's part of who I am too, in cultural things. Like I have a hard time with small talks, talking about the weather or talking something like very general. So my conversations they tend to go deep. Like
Mhm.
it has to be meaningful to me. Otherwise, I'm like, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my Latin. So I rather stay quiet.
Uh-huh.
But this is part of my personality. But along with my culture and transition, I think the warmth and the compassion that is so Brazilian.
Mhm. What is the one daily habit that you have that you do every day, no matter what?
In the last year since I turned 42, like I'm adopting new habits, like facial yoga.
Facial yoga.
Yes. So I got an app and I'm doing like all the drainage, because, gravity starts to hit and things like that.
I'm
you
47. I don't do anything. I just thought I
so
like to do like a some
the
facial,
self-care, yes, yes.
but I when I remember I do it, but most of the time I don't remember.
Yeah, that's something that is, I don't know, I feel it's important to me. So like to waken up and do all the drainage. So that's a habit that I adopted, and then I see the results and I'm happy about it because I'm usually thinking my mindset is all about prevention. So I'm not saying I will never do it, but I don't want to go into Botox or any chemicals. So I'm thinking, like, what is the preventional way of keeping myself happy with my image and being happy with my body and take good care? And it goes beyond the beauty itself. It's like a self care, like, oh, I'm here. I see myself in the mirror and I'm taking good care of myself. So that's a ritual that I adopted and I love it.
Hmm. How do you handle when you yourself are going through some kind of a struggle? Because no matter how we all have our bad days. We all have a day or an hour somewhere that I feel like crap, I don't want to do this. How do you handle yourself when you having your own struggle, but you still have to show up for your clients?
So I also teach my clients what I usually do. I have a survival mode plan in my head, but it's very clear to me. Like if I'm going, so I think about what are my three priorities. Like what is my three things that I can't forget no matter what. So first of all is myself, because I can only be there for my client if I'm feeling good, if I'm not having any pain, if I feel alert and focused and good ears, good listening. So my top priorities is myself. Like, okay, my sleep, and that includes my sleep, my stretching, like in order for my body to feel good. Like yoga is a good resource that I use. I think yoga helps me connect my brain, my body, like sink into the moment,
Mhm.
connecting these two parts of myself. So yoga is a good way for me to, you know, come back to myself, come back to the essentials. And then, so that includes, exercise, sleeping, water, drinking, eating healthy. And then my second is like my family. Okay, is my family okay? Like my son depends on me. He's only 6 years old. I want to make sure that I'm there for him. And then my clients. That's my third priority. So if I'm feeling okay, my son is okay because he's the one dependent on me. My husband, I'll just verbalize and communicate with him. Like I'm feeling stressed. I need to go to bed early. I need a break. I need to hang out with my friends. I need some quiet time. So I verbalize to him, like, I'm not feeling good. Please take care. You don't expect, like, it's almost like saying, like, don't expect like dinner ready, house clean, So I'm on my survival mode. So that's what I just give myself a break, you know, give myself a break. So that's my three priorities. And then everything else I let it fall. If I have to skip the jujitsu or any sports, if I have to skip If I have to reschedule a client, I will reschedule a client. If I'm not feeling well that day, like, you know what, can we reschedule? Even though like my client is my priority, but if I'm having a breakdown or something, I'm like, can you reschedule? Like and I don't have any problem saying I'm not feeling well today.
That's good.
And I'm learning how to respect my limits too, you know. Uh, but if I'm not okay, I'm like, can we reschedule? Can we skip this week? I'm having a hard time. So I give myself a break. You know, I allow myself to lay in a couch. I allow myself to sleep longer, to skip a plan or something.
Is there anything that you would tell the younger version of yourself? Think back when you were 20 years old, 20
Mm-hmm.
years ago, okay? If you could
Mm-hmm.
go back and tell the 20-year-old you, give her advice, what would it be?
Don't be so anxious. There's a time for everything. There's a time for everything. I remember, like, you know, in your 20s, when I was going through the 20s, I was like, I need to, I need to make my, I was getting married when I was 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Very
yes,
young.
yes. Uh, you know, I gotta take care of this marriage. I gotta make sure that this work because I have a history of, aunts and uncles who went through divorce. My mom got married 3 times herself. So marriage was something like kind of scary to me. Like I was trying to avoid all the mistakes from my family and build up on my own references. Like who are the people? This is like something big that I tell my parents, my clients, and something that I do for myself. Like if you watching marriages that are failing, that are not working out, learning with their mistakes, but also have references, have role model in your mind, like, oh, I really admire this family. I really admire like how these couples handle things. And then don't be afraid to reach out and say, like, how do you deal with when this happens? Because having a role model, having good references help you focus on a good side of things because our mind, they come naturally to the negative side, the things that went wrong. These are the things that usually tends to stick to our brain. So we have to, it's an inner battle all the time to,
Yep.
hey, wait. You're not going this road. You're going to go this road. So, and then I was very anxious, like, oh, I gotta make this marriage works. I have to build my career. I need to buy a house. I need to have a child. So I was very anxious about many things. So just, I would tell myself, you know, slow down, one thing at a time. You're gonna be fine. And I feel like at 40, I'm living the best time of my life. Like I'm feeling like the fulfilled now. I feel like all those fears from the 30s, the 20s, they're
Mhm.
kind of like banished. Now I'm like more thinking about I need to nurture everything that I built, taking care of everything that I conquer, be grateful for everything. And my mind is a little bit thinking ahead again, like retirement. What am I gonna do when I get old? Like am I planning for my future? But like not with the level of anxiety that I used to have before. Like it's more conscious, like thinking about uh, rebuilding my relationship with money,
Mhm.
learning about investment, creating my own budget, figuring it out, these things.
What is the one thing that you still working on your own personal development? And what would you tell the woman listening to us right now? The woman who are ready for a change, but they do not know where to start.
So there's one thing that I'm still working on myself. Uh, that is, you know, as a woman growing up, I was very aware of, the difficulty and the struggles of the women of my family, in terms of trusting their husbands, you know, uh, trusting their husbands. Let's say, my grandma, when she got married, she passed away last year with 88 years old. But when she got married in in a countryside of Brazil. She got married when she was 14 years old.
Mm.
And my grandpa was 30 years old.
Wow.
Imagine that. Like today is like, it's,
But that was the thing back
how
then.
can I explain? Exactly. How can you explain? So there was a lot of machismo in terms of, it was okay, culturally okay for men to have other women, for women not having the rights, no access to birth control pills, no access to education, and all of those things. So women back then, like not too long ago, we say back then, but it's not too long ago, only
Yeah.
two generations ago, women were very hurt, with the situation, like the lack of freedom, the lack of voice, unable to vote, unable to be independent. So when my mom's generation came and she was in an abusive relationship with my dad, that's why they got divorced when I was 3 years old. Uh, the resentment carried on in terms of, you know, my mom, she confessed that she did not get married because she loved my dad, but because my dad was abusive, and he would tell her when they were dating, like, if you don't marry me, I'm gonna kill myself.
Oh, wow.
So imagine that, like, you're getting married to someone that you don't love. And so there's a lot of build of resentment through the women. I'm just gonna say about my family,
Mhm.
but we can also like have an idea of what was going like culturally, politically, like the stigma around being divorced and not having a successful marriage, or being married just for the status of being married. So we grow up, and I know this is true in United States too. Women grew up, like our generation grew up, like, don't trust men. You gotta be independent.
Yep.
Always have Plan B. If anything happens, you have some. So that's something. I've been married for 20 years now. In July, it's gonna complete 20 years. So there was part of me when we go through a marriage crisis, which every couple goes through. So in my last marriage crisis, these voices that I recognize as my child when I was child, like, oh, don't trust him, man. He's gonna leave you behind. La da 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 da. And then I was questioning myself, like, is there any evidence? Where is this voice coming from?
Mhm.
Why I don't trust my husband at this point? Because I was making less money than him, because I had my Luca. I had my child. He was like 1 years old, and I was afraid of not being a good wife or being good enough for my husband, because I was not bringing home the same amount of money that I used to do when I didn't have my baby.
Mhm.
And that's something that it's like, it's so common. Some listeners here might be relating to, a lot of women, you
Yeah.
know. So that's something that it really hit me when I had my child. Like, what is my value? So my value, if I start like making smart questions to myself. So my value now in my marriage is just measured by the amount of dollars, the amount of money that I produce and bringing out to the family. Really?
I'm sure there's a lot of women who feel that way.
That experience, like, it's still like hitting me in many ways, and like, so first of all, I identified that insecurity or that lack of trust in my husband had nothing, there was no evidence, because there's no history of divorce. My husband was not going anywhere. He was still providing. He was not asking me for more money. he was not he was living his own process, because while we were going through the crisis, becoming a dad is also scary. We say a lot about mothers, become a moms in the process, but dads, they also go through a lot of change, because they are not the center of your attention anymore. They had another child to take care of. The mom, the wife, the mother is like more vulnerable. So he was going through his own changes, and I was going through my own questioning, like, what is my value? What am I bringing to the family? And what is my role now?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that made me question in so many ways, like the feminist, model, like what media says, oh, we are women, we gotta do on your own, we gotta be independent, you gotta be this and this and that. No, that's not the structure of the family that God created for us. Men are the leaders, the providers. I'm just not putting labels, and I'm not, it's just something to question. Like, what
Uh-huh.
do we learn that we have to unlearn right now in order to be peaceful with ourselves? And people can choose whatever way they want to do, but that's my questioning. Like, so this process is still going on within myself, like learning how to be taken care of,
Let somebody else.
learn how to be dependent, letting him be the leader, letting him, you know, and I'm not saying this, just it's like unlearning whatever I learned during the
To
younger years.
unlearn how you grew up, what you
How
have.
I grew up, exactly, exactly. And that's something that women are losing. That's the struggles that I see very, like, a lot now. Like, women, they grew up to be so independent that it's so men and women are like reversing their roles, because women build up so much, like, let's say single women who are in the dating world, which is so hard right lately.
Mhm.
They're like, okay, I'm the tough one, I'm gonna, because I, like, so many men hurt me, now I'm gonna have sex without putting my emotions into place. So I'm just gonna act like men because
Yeah,
that's how I got hurt.
yeah.
And then men are growing up to the point that there's a lot of generation of divorce and children getting raised by a single parent. So men are being over. I'm just saying general, like, men are being overprotected by their mothers, and they're not learning. They're not having good references for being a man. The man who provides, the man who cares, the man who leads, and men are growing up, but emotionally they are not feeling secure enough to be in a stable relationship.
They're
They're
growing
not
up being
feeling.
taken care by the single mother or the single father because they don't have the parent, right?
It's usually like, boys, they need to have good references of a male figure. So if you're a single mom taking care of your boy, if you don't have the parent there, make sure that this parent has a coach, someone, an uncle, a grandparent who learn how to be men in terms of
Mhm.
being brave, being dependent, being having initiative, know how to treat a woman, how to be a gentleman, how to be a leader, to be a go-getter in that way. That's what I mean. And so now, like, women and men are kind of reversing their roles. Men are there. It's statistics. Like, they're not graduating as much as women. We are going in education for a longer period. Sometimes we have a not higher salary yet, but like, we are becoming too independent, and men are too scared to approach an independent woman because they're like, what am I gonna do if she doesn't depend on me?
Doesn't need me.
So she doesn't need me, exactly. So in order for you to be in a healthy relationship, that this is my philosophy, okay?
Mhm.
People can think whatever they want. Men, they need to have a role. They need to they need to know that they're helpful, that they are collaborating, that they're good enough. So that's why we're having this encounter between men and women, and that's what I'm going through, is still like learning how to, step back and be taken care of, and, you know, being cherished by my husband, and fully trust and really understand that we are one, that we're on the same team. looking towards the same goal. This
Mhm.
is something that I'm living now and that I'm still working on.
That's great. What would you tell to the woman who will be listening to us, women who are ready to change, but they have no clue where to start? What would be
Yes.
the first step they need to take to move towards their goal?
Hmm. You know, take a break to hear your inner voice, because sometimes we have dreams, we have vocations, we have callings, uh, but sometimes that voice has been silenced by the culture, by the family, by the way we brought up, the way that we have, that we see, so you need to have courage to first listen. What is this voice? What is this calling? And then start reflecting what are your values, what is really important to you. So in order for you to find out what your values are, I like to think of these questions. What are the three things that you can't live without? It can be abstract, it can be, concrete. You know, for me, it's very clear. God, like spiritual life for me, connection with God, it's always been present since my childhood. So I feel like that's where I get my comfort. That's where I look for answers. That's a very big thing for me. And then family, it's also a value. Like, how is my family? Are we looking towards the same goal? Are we aligned? Are we communicating? And then my mission, to help people go through the journey that I've been through myself and the things that I'm working on myself. This is very important to me, like serving people, sharing my knowledge, sharing what I have accomplished, inspiring other people who are coming along. Like, serving for me is extremely important. So making a difference in people's lives. So that's the first step. Make silence to hear inner voice, and write down your values. That could be like a good start point. Like, what makes sense to you in your life, and from there you can start like branching out. What am I gonna do now? Like, now that I know my values, now that I'm having the courage to listen to my inner voice. Who can help me? Who's gonna be on my side? What are my references? Who inspires me? You know, who can help me? Who can I open up to? Who will not laugh at my dream? Who will listen to me with compassion?
Mhm. Got it. Oh, Christiane, thank you so much. I am so honored that you accepted to do this with me. Um, uh, how does this is gonna be online, it's gonna be on YouTube, TikTok, podcast and stuff. Um, how people can find you?
Absolutely. So, I think the website is it's a good start, because from the website you can reach me. You can have my WhatsApp. You can have my all my social media. So it's www.cristianecorreacoaching.com. I can also give my phone number, my private phone number, so it might be easier, 857-888-9492. Just text me saying I would love to have like a introductory call. I'll send you a link. You can set up a place. But you can also follow me on Instagram, Cristiane Correa Coaching. Um, uh, but I'm mostly active on Instagram. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, I feel honored also to be here. Thank you. Uh, it's such a pleasure, and I'm very thrilled too. So thank you so much.